The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Right, go on then.
Well, it's your turn. It's the odd one.
Yes. That's a good start for the season, isn't it?
Don't forget, we always know who starts the show by whether it's odd or even. And, of course, we naturally go to you because you're odd.
Yeah. Okay then.
Yeah.
Right, let's get on with it then. So, hello, and here we are. We are back at it. I'm Elaine.
And I'm Julia.
And thank you for listening to episode 1, season 2.
Crikey.
See, I get confused because Gareth's called it season, but I always think of gardening seasons.
Yes.
Seasons in the Sun, that's another song. I'm not even going to... No. Okay, Gareth, who's shaking his head and now violently waving his arms across the table. No, I won't start singing just yet.
Anyway,
we don't want to put people off.
No.
What?
Anyway, we've had a bit of a break, haven't we? We're all rejuvenated, but
We
tell you
are.
what, Elaine, we've had some weather, haven't we?
Well, I don't think I've ever seen it up here at the allotment because we're sat in the community polytunnel at the moment because it's dry and it's light and it's bright, but the water has been intense.
Yeah.
I was trying to dig yesterday. That's another story and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But absolutely sodden. I mean, I'm tall, but by the time you've walked round with your boots and then you walk onto like stones,
Yeah.
they're sound effects, they are, Gareth. There you go. That are underneath here. Thank you. Thanking you. I must do more of those. And
No, don't bother.
but by the time the mud is stuck on the stones
Yeah.
and then the stones, you go onto the mulch,
Yeah.
before you know it, you're even taller. It's
Blimey,
incredible.
that's no good for you, is it? Perhaps I ought to do a bit of that.
Have a go.
But I tell you what, I came here between Christmas and New Year
Yeah.
thinking, I'll just have a bit of fresh air. And I was literally that scared I was going to get marooned on the allotment that I made a quick escape because it was hammering it down and we
Yeah.
really have been underwater this year, haven't we? I've never
Yeah.
known anything like it. And then to compound that, well, the winds.
I would say that the wind was, well, I don't know. We can control water to an extent in that it's going to disappear. But that flipping wind,
Yeah.
well, it's demolished that huge community shed that was on plot 1.
Yeah, and it also demolished my fruit cage.
Loads of greenhouses have gone.
Yeah.
None that we have put up, my friend.
No, because we make sure there's plenty of clips in there. And also, a bit of advice here for anyone listening. If you have got a greenhouse and it is forecast that it is going to be windy, make sure your door's shut unless you've got a window open, because if the wind goes in and it's got nowhere to get out, it'll blow your greenhouse glass.
And that's what's actually happened where
It
some
really
doors
has,
were open.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good hint and tip.
Thank you very
We
much.
could do
Already?
those. Do you remember? We used to do hints and tips all the time, didn't we,
Yeah.
Gareth?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking.
Does Gareth want us to do that thing where we do all the...
Thing?
Yeah, you know, where we have to tell people to get in contact with us. Do you want us to do that now, Gareth? It's not scheduled.
It's not scheduled now, but it could come in at some point, I suppose, couldn't it?
I have done it for a little while, actually.
To be fair, to be fair to the script writer,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
To be fair to the script writer, she has put it in
Yes.
about halfway.
Hey, well, that's fine.
Have you not read before?
I've read, but normally we do it
It's about your attitude to my script writing and your homework.
No. All I was commenting on was the fact that we normally say it quite early on, don't we? But
I'll
that's
tell you
fine.
what,
Oh,
here's
it's
an
a
idea.
change.
Here's an idea. Let's break with tradition. We could do it twice in an episode and see if we can get it right twice.
No, good.
If we get it right once, it'd be a miracle. Right,
right.
go on then.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I have rehearsed it, actually.
Okay. Have you? Go on then.
Well, sort of. Facebook, Instagram and Twitter that was
Yeah.
at Potty Plotters,
Yeah.
TikTok at The Potty Plotters, email us naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk or check out the website pottyplotters.uk.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
We've spoken about the weather and we'll be talking about that a bit later in the episode when we're talking about rehashing our plots, because it has made us rethink a few things, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it is fine because last year we were moaning, if you remember, when the climate we were talking about was so hot. Well, I think now what we need to do is to gamble, really. I don't mean money-wise, but I think that we have got to look at all sides of this. It's about looking after the water system, but also making sure that we've got enough stuff for when it's dry. So if you were to raise beds, for instance, not your bed at home, Julia,
No.
it's all right, no. So if you've got a raised bed, then that should combat a lot of the problems for stuff that you're growing in the water, because that's what's happening. And for those people who've been growing onions and garlic, it's not too late in February to actually start all over again. And again, I was going to burst into song, so I won't.
Right, okay.
So do that.
So people have been getting in touch with us, haven't they, Elaine?
Oh, have we had a laugh, though?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the things that people write. But thank you to everyone who has been in touch with us, and for all the good wishes for the new year, for Christmas, because it was before Christmas as well. And come on then, let's get going on this.
Yeah, so we've had an email from Rob and Sarah Walker from Malvern.
Now, we like Malvern because they have a lovely show, don't they?
They have two lovely shows.
Oh,
they have the spring and autumn,
and the autumn
one.
yeah.
And we have been to both.
We have.
And both Rob and Sarah are visually impaired, and they've recently taken on an allotment themselves, and they've sent us photographs of it, and they
haven't sent photographs of us because they don't know us.
No. Very luckily, and they've sent us some photos and a message saying, I'm hoping that you can come up with a funny name for our Facebook group, as you are both very funny ladies. Are we funny? Funny ha-ha? Funny peculiar? I don't know.
I don't know.
But anyway, it's where we will share our adventures on the plot 4, and we want to share and receive tips and advice. The name should get across that we are visually impaired allotmenteers. There's no pressure.
Okay. Right.
To get you going, what do you call a magical guide dog?
Well, I know the answer.
Come on, Gareth.
What do you call?
I don't know. What do you call a magical guide dog?
A labracadabra doodle. No. Oh, I always spoil the punchline. A labracadabrador.
Ooh, I tell you what.
I'm not sure a poodle makes for a particularly good guide dog. It's a bit like a guide cat. Slightly nuts.
Oh dear. Well, anyway, have you come up with anything, Elaine?
Well, what I've found as well is, don't forget that he's threatened us. Should you fail in this mission, maybe your listeners can email in suggestions. So if we can't think of anything, let's get everybody else thinking about it. No, I haven't come up with anything, not yet.
No.
But I do think now we can set the challenge out there for everybody else to help Rob and Sarah with their visually impaired group community allotments.
The allotment isn't a community allotment. That's their allotment. No, it isn't. I promise you, it's not. You might have written it down, but I've read the email.
That is the email.
It doesn't. It says we've taken on the plot ourselves. But
Right.
All I've done is I have actually just cut and copied it. That is what he sent us.
yeah, but they want to come up with a name for the Facebook group, not for the allotment.
Yeah, but it is a community allotment.
No, it's not. It's their allotment.
It
Can you
is.
settle this, please?
Yes.
Move on.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Honestly,
Move
have
on.
a look. Right then, now then, what do you know about Dawn Tinsley from Yorkshire?
Well, she's
I'll tell you what.
she's contacted us, and this has made us, well, it's given us a little bit of fun, hasn't it? Because Gareth, she's a bit of a fan of yours.
I will soon put pay to that, don't worry.
What did she say, Elaine?
She said, I have to say I've enjoyed listening to Gareth's sexy voice on your podcast.
Did you have a sore throat that day?
Sponsored by Strepsils. That's Strepsils. It's okay, I'll just send her a file just purely of my voice.
Oh.
It's fine, don't worry.
And put her on.
It happens.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, it happens.
dear.
She's only human.
Oh.
I think that we ought to give him a bigger speaking part.
I think so.
Yeah, we'll try.
Well, we can do. I mean, you know how towards the end of last season we talked about we had to clean the greenhouses?
Yeah.
Can you explain to my other half that cleaning the greenhouse doesn't include having the stray cat that keeps coming and staying in the greenhouse in there because it means that you can't clean it?
Oh, well, the answer to it is simple, Gareth.
Get rid of
Let
the
the
cat.
cat in the house.
No!
Yes.
Because I'm
And
allergic to
shut
the cat.
the door.
I'm allergic to the cat.
Well, then you need to make another home for the cat. So what about the
Not-
summer house?
Not at our house.
What about the summer house?
I would say summer house is rather nice, yeah.
No, I'm not giving the cat a key.
No, you can make a cat flap to go in it.
No, it's got a glass door.
He's just always looking for problems. There's
Well
always
done,
a solution.
This is especially for you.
Especially for you.
That's next
No,
week.
I got banned. Yeah, thank you.
And I can't sing because my Auntie Mavis said I've got a terrible voice. Anyway.
Auntie Mavis was right.
Yeah, she is. Anyway, we've had a message from Michelle Varney as well, haven't we,
Oh,
Elaine?
now, Michelle does make me laugh. She sent us photographs of stuff in her veg box. Now, Michelle, I feel like we know her actually, but she gets this veg box. I don't know if it's every week or every fortnight, but for some time now, Julia, we're just going to explain to people that she does send us photographs of stuff that's in the veg box because she doesn't know what it is.
You see, I could probably do this because,
Oh.
as you both know, on the run up to Christmas, I went back to the job that I used to have when I was a student, which was on the fresh fruits and veg counter at a well-known supermarket that was very busy, and I know what most of the fruit and veg are. I can identify most of the exotics.
Really?
Yeah, and I know I don't like certain ones.
Jerusalem artichokes.
Story about this. I'm bigging my part up on this. So,
Oh, yeah.
So when we went on holiday last year, we went for a meal in the evening, and there was a Four Seasons pizza. Now, I'm not used to, when I order it from a well-known takeaway, it arriving with Jerusalem artichokes on it.
Oh.
Disgusting things.
Did you eat them?
No, I got rid of them. I tried one of them, but they're disgusting. It's just another one of those veg that, quite frankly, shouldn't exist.
Julia, can you put it down as something we're going to grow this year?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the
Let's
clue's
do
in the
it.
words Jerusalem.
We need to disguise them, I think.
No,
again.
Disguise
we
them
are
as
going to do
disguise
it.
them as anything you like. It's still not happening.
We are. Well,
Anyway.
one of the other things that she actually had was chard, Gareth. Do you remember chard?
Like chard.
Yes, right then. So she didn't know that it was chard because what else does it look like? It's an exam, this, isn't it, now for him?
I'm trying to think what else it looked. But it's got long stems. Like,
Yeah.
it could look like any of the cabbagey type.
Yeah.
It could
But
also
what
look like
else?
rhubarb. Oh God, no, not rhubarb.
Now then.
And there's a massive difference between chard and rhubarb.
Well-
There's several. One's a vegetable, the other one's a fruit. One is that chard is nice and rhubarb isn't, and the other is that chard doesn't take over your entire garden. Rhubarb does.
Yes, but if
Yes.
it just turns up in a box of mixed vegetables
It
and
looks
you
nothing
don't
like it.
Well, sometimes it does
it doesn't.
actually.
No.
And poor Michelle made her family a crumble, didn't she?
Oh God!
Well, can you imagine the anticipation?
Hold on. Surely, when she cooked it, she'd notice. Sorry, Michelle. We are
We're labouring this
still
now.
labouring this, but surely when you cooked it, you noticed that it didn't resemble that slightly mushy, sour fruit.
No, well, I suppose if you were to chop up chard and chuck that in, I would have just taken a lot more cooking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would have given £1 to have watched that because it would have been funny when you put
Where is Michelle?
I don't know.
Because you know full well that the charred crumble's going to rock up here at some point.
I think we ought to try
I
one.
think so, yeah. Let's see if Gareth can taste the difference.
I think if you did it with like a cheesy top, it might work. A cheesy crumble.
Ooh,
Now then.
he's getting all MasterChef-y on his.
I won't go that far. Wimpy, possibly.
Now, we've also had a lovely message from Mandy Hatton, and she's asking, how do we keep pests and pesky creatures off our plots?
Well, Mandy, the difficulty that we've got is that we can't keep all of them off, but we do so many things. So all we're going to recommend to you is listen to every episode in this next season and you'll hear how we deal with the pests and pesky things for each of the things that we plant, which involves the whole allotment.
And the other pests that we keep away from, we actually hide in the shed from them, don't we?
Yeah, the woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Yeah.
They're not good and they work in packs. So, but you can't get a packet of them.
No.
No.
And there's no
Okay.
nematodes to deal with them.
I've got a big stick. Right then, Julia, so you laughed, you guffawed, you were quite almost hysterical when you suggested that I do the twiddly-bitty thingy what's it as to how people get in touch
Yeah.
with us.
Yeah.
Right, now it's over to you. Right, you're going to do this in one go. Right?
Yeah, okay, I'll give it my
Okay,
best shot.
go on then.
Okay. It's Facebook, Instagram and X, Twitter @PottyPlotters, TikTok @ThePottyPlotters, email us naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk or check out our website pottyplotters.uk.
Flipping.
Thanking you.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Right then, before we get going, let's remind people just a little bit more about why we did this podcast thingy and what really is it all about.
Right.
So how did we get involved?
Gareth told us to do it.
So we're both now looking over at Gareth with his headphones on, who now looks like he's busy twiddling knobs. Leave your knobs alone and tell us how it all happened, Gareth.
What do you mean how it all happened? You talk, I record, we put it out. It's simple.
Yeah.
Oh, right, OK. Well, that's not 2 minutes because I was banking on at least 2 minutes
Yeah.
there, Gareth. So, shall we tell the real story then,
Go on,
Julia?
then.
What is it?
Shall we take a step back? So, I first met you two on local radio beginning of COVID. Might have been a little bit before COVID. And then we started to do a regular thing on a Sunday morning where you deliver me with veg and I take it home and eat it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you spoke for an hour, and it was an hour I didn't have to think about the radio. And we thought, well, we could take that and turn it into something off the radio, where we could be a little bit racier,
Naughtier.
I'd have less control,
Ooh.
which is proof. And here we are in season 2. And 16,500 listens to season 1, I think, proves that there's an audience for it somewhere. Unless it's just you two just listening over and over and over. I have no idea.
We have it on repeat, if only we knew that. I suppose the funniest thing for me is that the reason that when you first asked us would we do them was that we both said no. And why did we say no, Julia?
Because we didn't know what one was.
And I think that we have found a huge amount of people out there who would like to listen but don't know how, because we seem to be moving very quickly into this digital age, unless it's just me because I still don't know decimalisation. But it is quite tricky, isn't it, keeping up with everything? I mean, you don't even get instructions with your phones anymore.
No, but people do like the fact that when we go out and do talks and we tell them about it, they do like the fact that they can pause us or shut us up, and they also like the fact that it's only really half an hour.
I like the half an hour.
Yeah.
The amount of people who have told us that they listen on the way to work or on the way back. They never have it on when the kids are there, obviously, to frighten them. But yes, Gareth, you were going to have another speaking part.
No, I was just going to say, it's what people do. People listen to podcasts at their convenience, usually when they're doing something else. So it's passive listening rather than active listening more. So driving along, if their commute's about half an hour, although if they live near where I live, then their commute used to be half an hour, probably is about 3 hours at the minute due to the roadworks. So you can listen to 6 episodes in that time and bump the figures up even more.
Oh, right.
I mean, what's been lovely and what surprised us is the amount of people who've contacted us from all over the country, all over the world, really.
Yeah.
And that's, we're here in the Polytunnel in the middle of Derby, and, we're in our own little bubble, really. I mean, we love our allotment. We come here. It's our special place that we come to. We can lose ourselves here. And the amount of people who are losing themselves on allotments and in gardens, we're not on our own, are we, Elaine?
No, I don't think I've ever got lost, but that's because I've got a big piece of string. But I do like the idea of listening to things that you can relate to.
Yeah.
Because more than often, I've listened to not just podcasts, but even television programmes, and I've got completely baffled, but then that's because I think I'm quite behind. I don't understand streaming. That's a word that, I mean, I could use it for my nose at the moment, but yeah, streaming, it's lots of language that is creeping in, but there doesn't seem to be any definitions. There's no dictionary. There's nobody that you can ask because you feel quite foolish. And I think we did when Gareth mentioned podcast, because we thought it was some new form of bean, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Well, you mentioned going around the world, and we've spoken to Hazel in Australia.
Yeah.
I think what we ought to do in this season is look at other parts of the world that we've had listeners from. And if you're listening to us in other parts of the world, we want to know how you grow things against your seasons, because we've looked across the last year at, we've had quite a lot of extreme weather in this country over the last couple of years, but how do you cope in different parts of the world when you get your extreme weathers, and what sorts of things do you grow, and how are your seasons different to how ours are? And we'd like to have more people talking about that, I think, this season going around, just to prove they are actually listening for a start.
Yeah, I mean,
you haven't got friends in out of Mongolia that are just clicking a few times.
Yeah, I mean, even people around the world, but even people in this country, you know, we've got people at the extremes of the country listening to us, and it'd be interesting to hear how they cope, because it is very regionalised, isn't it? And you know, what can happen on our site here in Derby can happen on another site in Derby completely differently. It is very different conditions. And I mean, you know, as Gareth says, we met through working on local radio, and we kind of fell into it, and we've carried on falling into it. And the reason we do it is because we want to share our passion for it. We want to kind of demystify it and also make people just have a go.
Yeah, and if we do it in plain English, in a way that people can understand, which actually can be quite tricky, can't it, when we waffle around with words, because we know what we're doing because we've got stuff in front of us.
Yeah.
But I think that's really important, that we do it in a way that people can understand, and most importantly, can titter along the way.
Yes, if we've made people laugh and they've learnt one thing, I think then we've done what we've wanted to achieve, and hopefully you've enjoyed what we're doing. But you know, if you've got any questions, just send them in to us. We might not know the answers, but if we don't know the answers, we'll find
make it up.
Well, you will, but I'll find somebody who knows the answer.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Right then, Julia.
Yep.
I went into your polytunnel. I don't know what day it was. I've lost track of all days of late.
Yeah.
But I went in and I saw that you had got some bare-rooted, that's the clue,
Yeah.
but they were bare-rooted raspberries,
Uh-huh.
and you had healed them in. Now then, they're all kinds of things that perhaps some people don't understand. So I'm going to go back over bare-rooted equals not in a pot.
Not in a pot. So these were delivered to me in a cardboard box, and they
Was that from off the internet?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they were delivered in a cardboard box with just a plastic bag over the roots, and the roots were completely bare of any soil or anything like that. So the first thing you do when you get something like that, you either pop them into water or, as you've mentioned, heal them in, because what happened was they arrived at a time when we were having atrocious weather. I think it arrived when we were underwater, and of course I couldn't put them where I wanted to put them at that point because I'd not prepared it, I'd not had a chance. So all I've done is, in the polytunnel where I'd got some space, I dug a hole out and gently laid the roots in there and covered them with some soil, but I didn't really compress it down or anything. It was just kind of a little place for them to stay until I'm ready.
And those raspberries, they're called raspberry canes,
Yeah.
but they're like stalks, aren't they,
Yes.
of about 18 inches, 12 foot,
Yeah,
12
yeah,
foot, I was going to say
yeah.
12 inches,
Yeah.
but something like that,
Yeah,
weren't they?
yeah.
Right then, when they arrive from off-said internet,
Yeah.
what should people do with them?
Well, first of all, they need to take them out of the packaging, and as I say, either put them in the ground that you've prepared, or put them, soak them in some water, or just make sure that those roots stay moist. So, I mean, now is still a good time to buy bare-rooted fruit. And the reason that you buy it bare-rooted is because A, it's much cheaper to do that, and B, it is the time at the moment where all the bare-rooted fruits, such as the black currants, the red currants, the raspberries, they are dormant at the moment, which means that they're not in active growth.
Okay.
So they've kind of gone to sleep for the winters. Now's a good time that they dig them out and they'll send them to you, or you can go to a garden centre and buy them. And the beauty of bare-rooted is, A, they're a lot cheaper. B, they're also a wider range of varieties available, because if you imagine a garden centre having to plant every single variety up, and people might not want one or two, so they've got to kind of keep and look after them in plant pots all the time, whereas if they're in a field and they can just go and dig them up when they're ready, well,
Julia, you just have brought back a dreadful memory.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, by saying what you've just said. Now, I'm going to confess that I once had some bare-rooted raspberries from a local organisation, and I bought them. And you normally buy them in 5s, and they'd got like a plastic wrapper, like a tag that was tagged round them.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a few of them anyway, together.
Yeah. Did you plant them all in one go?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I think it's really important that we all say that we all make mistakes, but if you've got a plastic tag that is round them, snip that, and it's each individual raspberry cane.
Yes.
That's what you're going to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's each stalk is an individual plant.
Yeah.
So if they come like that, snip them off.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, they grow just as a massive bush. I just thought I'd tell you.
Well, that's good. And since we're having confessions, so this is my 3rd time on the plot.
Is this a new thing?
Confessions.
Because we keep hitting the microphones now, don't we, as well? So what is it? Let's have a new thingy.
Confessions and failures.
Failures.
Well, what's happened, I've tried 3 times now on my plot to get raspberry canes to establish themselves. And obviously they don't like the place where I've planted them. So this time I am going all out now, and I've bought some mycorrhizal fungi to dip the roots into, and that should help establish the root system a bit better. But other than that, I mean, I've followed all the rules in terms of planting, making sure that there's space for the roots to be laid out, they're not compact. I've added organic matter, I've added fish blood and bone to get them established, and nothing has worked. So whether it's the soil, whatever, or whether they were just dud canes, but 4th time lucky, I'm hoping here. So don't give up. That's all I'll say. Don't give up if they've not worked before. But I am going all out this time. I'm throwing everything at them.
Okay, I'll just put the jam jars away, because there's not going to be any raspberry jam, I don't think, from you. Right then, it's February. Now, I'm just going to tell you a little bit of history, actually, Julia, because you know me about going on about being brought up on allotments. But my dad never started doing the allotment at the back of the house until the light night started.
Right.
Now, it is getting lighter,
It is.
very much so. But my dad always used to say if he could ride home on his bike without his lights on, then it was okay to start and dig. Because a lot of people don't realise that the time that you've got, if you're working all the time, the time that you've got on your allotment is very limited, because over the winter period, then we end up it being very dark, very cold, very wet, very snowy, very windy, and it becomes a really tricky place to be to do any work. But we've been here. Now, we've been here because we have been dead busy, because December, January to the beginning of February is the time to do all the structures and everything that we need to do. Now, you've been dead busy with your fruit cage.
Yeah, I have been busy with the fruit cage, because as I mentioned at the start of this, when we had the winds, the fruit cage came down. Now, when I took on the plot, it's probably 12 by 12 feet fruit cage. It was massive, and it was built with wooden upright posts, and then it was covered in debris netting, and then we had like butterfly netting over the top to allow the pollinators in but to keep the birds out. And it was a fantastic structure, but I was always very frustrated with it because I couldn't get either side of my blueberries that I'd planted there. But I never felt, because it was so well made and it was it served its purpose, I never really felt it was worth taking down. But anyway, the wet weather and the winds have done it for me. So the wooden posts have literally rotted in the ground, and then as the winds have come, it took the whole structure down. Thankfully, it didn't damage my fruit bushes that badly. So of course it's an ideal opportunity to rethink and redo. So I've taken it down, it's really opened up the plot, and all I've done is I've kept my blueberries in a raised bed, and I've actually reinforced that now. And although it's made of wood, it's really important for your blueberries that you can keep the area separate so that you can incorporate your ericaceous compost. But everything else I'm leaving it open, and I'm just going to net them in situ, because why not? Why wouldn't I do that now I've got the opportunity to do that? So that's one of the big things that I've done on my plot. Another thing is that my chalet, or the allotment as we call it, where we normally have the drinks, well, everything's gone wrong there. The roof's caving in, the floor got wet, and the water was coming up through the sides. Can't get in the door, and now I've got a mouse in there, so that's coming down. So we are literally rehashing the structures at the moment on the plot, and you've been very busy. In fact, I'm surprised you're even here today, Elaine, because I'm surprised you can walk. What have you been up to?
I'm surprised too. Right, there's an area that I used to have all my fruit bushes. The fruit bushes had got too big, too leggy, and needed moving. And then I decided, because we know how to create and make our new fruit bushes, I thought, right, they're going to go. Yeah. So it was round about Christmas time I started on that adventure, and it's a third of my plot that was fruit. And I started to dig them up. Flipping heck, honestly, it was such hard work, because they were really well established, thick rooted plants. Anyway, got them up, and in fairness, I had to ask the lads if they would help me, because I needed for somebody to be, I dug all the way round a plant, and then we needed to push on one side where we get the secateurs and the fork underneath to get the blooming things out. Anyway, did that. Then over the last couple of weeks, in between the weather, I've started to dig it all over. Yeah. Having dug it all over, then what I've done is I'd got off Marketplace some timbers, some sleepers, and they're absolutely brilliant. So yesterday I was dragging them round just to look at them, because I'm going up. Now then, the reason I'm going up is because although my plot necessarily doesn't flood, it gets so wet, and I thought, no, before I get much older, I need to do everything so the structures are all in place to make it all easier. And it's not just looking at it to make it look pretty.
It's interesting you say that, because I've noticed Kev next door, plot 2, he's done the same thing. And I think, even plots that haven't previously flooded have flooded this year. But also, as he says, as he's getting older, it's the bending down. He's kind of almost preparing in advance so he can stay on the allotment site as long as possible. But as you say, it works in two ways, doesn't it? So in building up, if you are prone to flooding, then you've got somewhere to plant, and it's the only way you can go, because it's literally coming up through the water table, isn't it?
So that's what I've been up to, and I've looked at the sheds and they need painting, but I'm not going to do that until the weather actually starts to warm up. So the main thing at this time of year, Julia, is get the bonfires going. Some people might not like it, but what I will say is I've managed to burn so much of the stuff and then keep the potash. But I've cleared the whole of the plot to the extent that people have stood gawping.
Not the woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Honestly, all I can say is, Julia, I'm not showing anybody else anything to do with any of my bushes.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
So next time then, Julia, what we're going to be doing?
Well, next time, we've gone a bit flower mad after last year. We loved it so much, didn't we, that both of us have clearly been on the internet ordering seeds. And
here's some we bought earlier.
Yeah, so we're going to be planting antirrhinums, or otherwise known as snapdragons. And we also be looking at getting our chilies and peppers started.
I'm only laughing. I wonder if anybody has got an anti-rhinum, like an anti-Sheila or an anti-Joyce.
That would be funny, wouldn't it?
They can contact us.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.